many people out there are freaked out by the Bitcoin crash. And what I mean by that is if you look at the latest Bitcoin chart, here we've got Bitcoin going down from what looks to be about 61,000 all the way down to the bottom here at 54. And many people are freaked out. They're losing their minds over this crash. And I wanted to put some perspective around it. I wanted to give you army with some facts and some intelligence so you guys can make sense of it all. And particularly if you're new to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, you may be kind of on edge. You may be thinking, what have I done? I'm losing all my money. Will I ever see this back? Will Bitcoin ever recover? Who knows? So I'm going to go through it step by step. No filtering, no BS, none of that. Look, my phone's going crazy. People are saying that I'm on live streams right now. It's crazy. Let me it's out of control. People can't message me during a live stream. So let's get stuck into it. What I want to show you first off the bat is some comments by Peter Thiel. So I'm going to prefix this with some words that he's had in the lead up to that crash, and we'll get into that right now. So let's hear from Peter Thiel.
Even though I'm sort of a pro crypto, pro Bitcoin. It threatens fiat money.
Actually, I want to take you back. I just want to.
Most person.
Just the audio is a bit funny.
At this point, Bitcoin is also should also be thought in part of as a Chinese financial weapon against the U.S., where it threatens fiat money, but it especially threatens the U.S. Dollar, and China wants to do things to weaken it. So it's sort of China is long Bitcoin, and perhaps from a geopolitical perspective, the U.S. should be a little bit be asking some tougher questions about exactly how that works. But some internal stable coin in China, that's not a real cryptocurrency. That's just that's just some sort of.
All right, so we've heard from Peter Thiel there on China and them and their hash rates and their interest in Bitcoin, and yes, that's a big concern, and I'll get to that in just a sec. But I do think that the rest of the world outside China has a role to play in hash rates and ensuring the stability of Bitcoin. So I'll get to that specific issue in a sec. Now you're probably wondering, well, why is this? What has that got to do with Bitcoin crashing? Why have I got? Why is Bitcoin going down? Well, I'm going to show you. Okay, so just bear with me here. So after this, I wanted to show you this article here from the Financial Review talking about how the plunge as low as 51 was initially attributed to rumours that the US Treasury Department is looking at anti-money laundering regulations. Now, as we've seen in the past, when governments, particularly China, they'll come out and say, we're going to ban Bitcoin, or India is going to say we're going to ban Bitcoin. People freak out, markets react, the price plummets. That's just inherent in the nature of Bitcoin right now. That's what we're facing. Now, to get on to some of you actually are aware of this, hash rate issues within the Bitcoin network. Now, you've probably heard about power outages in China and things like that, and you're going, what does that have to do with my Bitcoin price? What's the story there? Let me explain to you. I've got a few graphs. Everyone loves a good graph. And by the way, if you've got any comments, feel free to leave them if you're on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you are. I'll try and get to them at the end. They do come up on my screen, and I'll put you on. So feel free to leave a comment or a question if you've got one, and I'm happy to jump back to those articles. So, here we go. Hash rate of Bitcoin. Now, this is a tweet from Woo Blockchain, but it's a really good graph, and it talks about the hash rate plummeting within a 24-hour period. And if you see, I'm just going to show you here, that's a big change. Now, these are pools. For the people who don't know, these things right here are groups of miners, if you like, that mine Bitcoin. And you've got different pools, pool names, and their effect on the hash rate. So why is that an issue? Well, some of them are like, minus 33%, minus 24%. So when you've got large amounts of hash rates dropping off the network, all of a sudden Bitcoin transactions take longer. All of a sudden these things are in a backlog. And it has a whole heap of other flow-on effects to the Bitcoin network. So people seeing this, people in the know will see this and freak out and go, why is a chunk of the Bitcoin network gone offline? What's the story? People start to freak out that something's tragically gone wrong. The other graph I want to show you is from University of Cambridge, and it's a really, really interesting one, and it's about the geolocation, in essence, of mining. And if you look here at the top, China, 65.08% of a hash rate. So I need to put this into perspective. These are pools, mining pools that are collected. Their IP addresses are collected. This is only, as this article says, 37% of the total Bitcoin hash rate. So if you think, I'm going to speak generally to this. For all the super nerds out there who go, oh, it's not entirely accurate, it's not 100%. This is as accurate as we can get, right? So this is 37% of the Bitcoin network. And when you survey this, this is what it says. So China, 65% of the hash rate. That's a massive amount. And United States, 7%. Russia, 6.9%. Kazakhstan, huge. Malaysia and so on. As you can see, my country, Australia, is not even on the map. We're not even a blip, and probably because of our huge, enormous power issues. The other interesting thing, and here's where it gets into detail, is when you can break it down in China, and you can go by region, and here we go, 35% of that 60-odd% is in one particular province, and that province got flooded. So that's the data. So when you drill down into it, a large chunk of the Bitcoin network, that chunk that I just showed you, went offline. Simple as that. And people panicked. Now, there are some other things at play here as well, and I want to get into those right now. But I thought, look, everyone loves a good graph, and I've never seen this stuff before. I thought, when I first came across it, I was like, wow, this is really cool. I've got to show you guys, because I know you'll appreciate it as much as I do. So this was another graph by Willy Woo, and he talks about that. I can't pronounce it, Xinjiang, blackout, and you can see there, if my mouse decides it wants to work, the hash rate take a dive, or as he put it, totally collapse. So as we've seen in that other graph, that accounts to 60% of the Bitcoin hash network. So separate to that, we've got something else that popped up, and that was the Coinbase listing on NASDAQ, and a lot of positive news around that. You guys already know my views. You can have a look at another video that I've done on the Coinbase IPO on that. But this is the flip side, if you like. Now, this is a tweet from Peter Schiff, who's well known as not liking Bitcoin too much. But here's a graph that he produced and was talking about executives selling off their shares. And I'll just zoom into that. And it looks a bit like that. I won't go down, unfortunately, so I apologise for the blackness in that video. But you can see a whole heap of quantities of shares being sold off and things like that. So that had a bit of a flow-on effect on the Bitcoin price, because what we actually saw was negative Reuters articles coming out of it, and they look like this. Coinbase chief executive sold 291.8 million in shares on open day, so that doesn't look particularly fantastic when when you've just launched your company and all of a sudden people are reporting that you're dumping your shares on the market. That's just not cool. So that also, I believe, contributes to the nervousness, if you like, around Bitcoin investors at the moment. And that also was repeated by companies like MarketWatch and people, raising capital. And as you can see, the Coinbase shares closed in negative territory during their first day. So that wasn't particularly good. So moving on to the next thing, and I wanted to give you guys some perspective in terms of the Bitcoin price, because I think it's important to know where we came from and where we are now. And the best analysis that I've seen of it at the moment is actually by CNBC. There was a guy on there, and I'll just go straight to it. He said, let's put some things in perspective. This was Walt on CNBC on Monday. In August, Bitcoin suffered a 20% drawdown, 17% drawdown in November, 31% in Jan, 26% Feb, 18% March, more recently 16%. Of course, it's recovered. But through that period, Bitcoin is up 315%. So while we are experiencing minor corrections, overall we're up 315%, and quite frankly, I don't think you've got anything to worry about. So that's some very positive news. The other really positive thing that I've noticed just recently is some comments out of China. Now you can say, yes, well, China's got 60% of the Bitcoin hash rate. Of course they're really happy. Anyone would be happy if they've got that much hash rate in the Bitcoin network. But I want to draw your attention to this, because it's not often that China makes statements on this stuff. So I wanted to show you exactly what they're saying. Now this is again another CNBC article. China calls it an investment alternative. And this was Li Bo, who's the deputy governor of the People's Bank of China. And of course, those that have been around for a while know full well about Beijing's tone when it comes to Bitcoin. But this was very interesting, because people are saying, well, they're kind of getting a bit progressive in some of their wording. But we regard Bitcoin and stablecoin as crypto assets. They are investment alternatives, Li Bo, Deputy Governor of the PBOC, said on Sunday during a panel hosted by CNBC. So very, very positive news. So it's no wonder that the Bitcoin price is coming back up. Hash rates have recovered. Power's back on in some parts of China, and this is what's happening. And as you can see here over... this is a daily chart. I'll just go to it now. This is the weekly chart. We've seen that correction. It's bounced a few times, and it's on its way back up. Now, did it bounce and go straight up to back up to 64? No, it didn't. It's still bouncing around there, but it does look healthy. So there you have it. Some negative news, some positive news, some explainers. I hope this makes sense in terms of the Bitcoin price and why Bitcoin crashed in 2021 today. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, feel free to check out some of the other videos that I've done on cryptocurrency investment, in particular some of the marketplaces and things that you can visit to get started. I'll leave some links up there. I'll see you next time. Thanks.